Hello, it's GenChi from IdioFreQ here, and I got a review for Injustice 2. If you end up digging this content, go ahead and show us some love with a like and subscribe. Now, I'm gonna just come out and say it. This game scratched every nerd itch I had. This is speaking both as a comic book nerd and a fighting game nerd. This game is great, so let's go ahead and talk about the story mode because I feel like that's the first place that gamers will dive into. The story mode is good. It picks up after the first Injustice game. Warning, some light Injustice 1 spoilers ahead. So, just as a refresher, the first game saw an alternate world where Superman becomes a dictator after accidentally killing his wife and unborn child. This was due to a scheme set in action by the Joker. After that, Superman decided he wasn't going to mess around anymore, and that the world should be ruled by his iron fist. All bad guys were meant to be killed to stop more innocent bloodshed. In the first Injustice, the Justice Leagues from our normal canon went ahead and crossed over into the Injustice world to assist Batman, who is in way over his head. This game is different as the story is strictly set in the Injustice universe. This means that good Superman and the normal canon crew won't be making an appearance at all. That also means that those that died in the first Injustice remain dead, and for the most part, they won't be featured in this game. I thought that was a really stellar choice. So there's a lot going on in the story this time around. Not only do our heroes have to deal with a new villain society, they also have to deal with Superman's regime's attempts to break the Man of Steel out of his Red Sun cage. All of that on top of a looming threat of Brainiac occurs. It's a neat story and I enjoyed it the entire way through. I was thoroughly entertained. Of course it helps that the game is freaking gorgeous. Like seriously, it's beautiful. The facial animations are some of the best I've ever seen in gaming, period. They really express themselves well and the emotions are felt through subtle acting. The cutscenes, while in engine, are not cheaply made. Some real money went into making this story feel like something you might see in a live action film or animated movie. Even the first Injustice game's cutscenes, they felt relatively tame. Sometimes it felt like due to budgetary issues, the game had to cut corners with its story animations. But Injustice 2 does not share that issue. The gameplay of the story is probably what you expected. You play a handful of heroes that are put in various situations and fight one-on-one bouts. One thing I did like, which helps Injustice stand out just a bit, is the fact that at some scenes, you'll actually have to choose between heroes, picking the one that you find more interesting for the fight. You choose between characters like Black Canary and Green Arrow, Blue Beetle and Firestorm, and Superman and Batman, the world's finest. This gives the story mode a little bit of replayability, as if you want to see the full story, you'll have to replay certain scenes at least twice picking a different character. Personally, I'm curious where they'll go with a third installment, as this universe has really kind of milked all the conflict at this point. I don't know where else this can go. While I did love the story mode, one complaint I do have is that some of the stakes felt a bit superficial, and it felt kind of like nobody could die. After completing the story mode, the game still has a lot to do. This game has a ton of single player content. You have your typical arcade mode with unique endings for each character, you have your standard versus matches, character tutorials, and then there is the multiverse mode. Multiverse mode is like Mortal Kombat's tower mode, but super powered. Each day brings new challenges and each challenge grants you new rewards and character experience. If you haven't been following Injustice 2, you might be wondering what these rewards are. Well, this is the perfect time to talk about the loot system. Injustice 2 brings in a new element with its equip system. Basically like an RPG, every fight you play with a character levels them up. Each fight also gives you a chance to obtain equipment. You have 5 equipment slots, 2 ability slots, and a shader. Equipment brings an entirely different layer to the game. Based on level, 20 being the max, you can obtain loot and equip them for stat boosts, such as strength, health, defense, and ability damage. In the ability slots, you can obtain powers that augment your special moves. Last is the shader, and this is just purely cosmetic. It's kind of like a coordinated color changer. Each piece of gear has its own look, allowing you to make Batman or Green Lantern that kind of shows off your individual style. These features, as you may have guessed, change the game in a major way. Levels and loot actually matter. A level 1 equipped with the bare minimum will have a hell of a hard time fighting against a level 20 decked with epic gear. While serious fighting game players may scoff at this system that wildly unbalances the playing field, it's great for casuals or single player gamers. You can take your buffed favorite character and go through the multiverse and potentially feel like a badass. Having said that, NetherRealm didn't throw balance completely out of the window. Ranked matches see that competition mode is auto-selected. This stabilized both characters, neutralizing both levels and gear. You can also select this in a player match and in local versus, but both players have to agree to it. Honestly, I feel like the game should always be in competition mode whenever you're playing multiplayer, and both players should have to agree to turn on their equipment, but I'm not going to complain about it too hard. Let's talk about the gameplay. The gameplay is rad, it's fun, it's faster than the last Injustice, and it hits twice as hard. The combo system feels pretty robust, and now we have even more options going into a fight. Defensive options like the ability to air escape and forward dodge for a little bit of meter is a great addition. I don't know if you remember the fights with Deathstroke in the first game, but spammers could be absolute torture. They were like cancer. That isn't completely fixed in Injustice 2. Deadshot is just as douchey a spam character, if not more, but at least there is more of a fighting chance this time around. Also, the supers do not disappoint. They're nuts. NetherRealm did a heroic job with them. One area I do think the game fails a little bit is teaching their players about the characters that they select. I was excited to see that there was a tutorial mode unique to each character, but it consists of teaching the special moves, which you can easily look at if you hit the start button, and maybe a 3-hit combo, maybe a 2-hit combo. The tutorial doesn't really give you an actual feel for the character, and it doesn't give you any bread or butter combos. This is a shame, as it forces players who really want to get good but don't want to spend years in the practice mode creating their own combos to go to the internet to see what others have learned. Now, I'm decent at fighting games, but I'm no combo fiend. I usually play with about medium combos. I'm a mere 8-hit combo specialist, and I play more mind games with surprising tactics. But IdioFreQ's fighting game aficionado, Atmosphere, will be doing a further in-depth look at the fighting game mechanics in a way only a high-level master could. As far as playing across the net, it was pretty solid. Finding a fight is pretty swift, and when you're actually fighting, it runs smoothly. I did have a bit of an issue when I tried to play a couple player matches with my boys Atmosphere and Jade Persona, but I'm kind of hoping this is ironed out by now. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I rate games on a system of lame, rough, solid, excellent, and amazing, with amazing being my highest honor. Injustice 2 earns an amazing. Injustice 2 is just amazing. It's one of the most robust fighters I've ever played. Gaining loot and equipping your character for both style and tactical advantages is a blast. Playing with your friends is easy and runs like silk. The story mode, while having a few narrative flaws, is hard-hitting and beautiful, and if you want to play alone, you never have to even touch multiplayer, and you can play single-player content for hours and hours and hours on end. So this has been my humble opinion on Injustice 2. Stay tuned to our channel as our resident fighting game guru, Atmosphere, and I will be talking in depth about Injustice gameplay mechanics. I want to know, who is your favorite DC character? Who would you like to see in the game who isn't even announced yet? What do you think of Injustice 2? Here at IdioFreQ, we want you to think on your own frequency, so let us know your thoughts in the comments below. While there, don't hesitate to show us some love with a like and subscribe. Anyway, this has been GenChi with IdioFreQ, and I'm signing off. Freak Nation out.